Before the war, I was a pop musician. I wanted to be something else, I guess, but I ended up being selling pop musician, record selling pop musician. And whatever I say right now, it's not going to really change that, because I didn't do much to when I went that way. I didn't do much to stop myself from going that way and go and follow my dream. Didn't do enough. I thought I did. I did. Plus, you know what? The 80s are times of wildlife and wildlife in the city, and that was pretty much how I lived. And in your early 20s, you're supposed to go and live wildlife, and you're supposed to care more about side effects than about art. I guess that's, at least I was. So I believed in one thing. Once the money showed up and the drugs and everything, it was so overwhelming that I stayed where I was in the mainstream world, and there was actually no other world, not that I thought of. Now, when I'm thinking back forwards, of course there always was the alternative world in every single country, but I just, I was a victim of my own success, commercial success, which wasn't even that huge comparing to how much I sacrificed not to be myself.
Sometime throughout our stay there, the first Gulf War happened. So it was this flood of refugees from the Middle East, and Hamburg got overpopulated. So they shipped us out to a place north in Schleswig-Holstein called Schleswig, for all places, and we lived there in a small Gaststätte or a guest house above a bar and a restaurant in a little village right off of Schleswig called Dannewerk, with a family, Frau Rosi and Herr Willi, great people. We understood each other very poorly because our German in the beginning especially was practically non-existent. It got improved over the months and became kind of friends, and we were stir crazy. We weren't allowed to work, so we were finding some strange chores, whatever was supposed to be done around. It's like he's changing the living quarters and he's putting wallpaper. I was like, how about we put the wallpaper for you? And he was like, well, why would you want to do that? And I'm like, because we are good at it and because we are fucking bored out of our wits. So Bobby and I put his wallpaper, which got us a lot of beer at the restaurant on Friday and Saturday, which was running kind of, everybody from the neighboring villages were coming to hang out and party, and dance some strange combination between, Friday night was the young night, so everybody danced disco mixed with brutal heavy metal and AC/DC tunes, so the place was full of drunk teenagers and 20-somethings, and on Saturday night was the old people's night, so it was everybody that's a family person hangs out there, get bloody drunk with their friends. So we ended up doing that on a regular basis for months, hanging out at the young night and at the old night. Made some friends. And there was some old dude that got drunk one night and wanted to adopt me because he was very fascinated with the whole story that we had. Needless to say, once he sobers up, he doesn't want to have anything to do with a bunch of immigrants from Bulgaria. Who the fuck cares?
So war happened. I started to regret that I really wasn't more truthful to myself, because I can die in the next 5 minutes. It's kind of funny what happens when you can die in the next 5 minutes. You kind of just think that you don't have much time to finish what you started, and that you gotta hurry up. So I hurried up with we digged out this old 60s musical hair, McDermott and Rado and Jerry Ragney, and we we destroyed it. We sacrificed it in the name of us. We made kind of death metal punk experience, and we, meaning all the musicians who stayed in the town at the time. And I felt better than ever in my life starting the show. I was always feeling better on the stage, but most of the time at the end, towards the end of the show, now I started feeling better at the beginning of the show. And I figured out I'm never going to do anything commercial in my life again, because it's just not worth it. You know, kind of, I'm more important to me than the rest of the people, and television and papers and everything else. And somehow made me what I always say, and I'm kind of boring to myself right now if I'm going to say it again, but I have to say it. I'm probably the only honest war profiteer out there in the world of all times, because I figured out what needs to be done to change my life for better.
So how does this work with you in New York?
Well, for this album, I wrote a bunch of song ideas myself, guitar parts, bass parts, melodies in New York, and I sent them via email to the guys here, and they learned some of them and didn't learn others. And you know, I probably came to Seattle 3 times a year or so for the last couple of years, 3 or 4, maybe 4 times a year. And so when I come, I'll come for a week, and we'll sit in Guy's basement and hash out my ideas, and other people they wrote a bunch of ideas, and so we bring our ideas together. A lot of these songs have a little piece of my idea with a piece of Val's idea, with a piece of Gino's idea, with a piece of Paris's ideas, and Guy and Amy, of course. So it's actually worked great. I mean, it's hard work when we get together, because there's a lot of pressure to be creative, and because I have a plane ticket, I'm only here for a week, so there's a lot of pressure to be creative at that moment. We better be creative. That's a little bit hard, and it's just an intense time. Everyone kind of leaves what takes kind of a break from their lives, and to make time for the band, and then I go home and everyone gets on with their life, and then I do it again a few months later, and hopefully after you know, a year or 2, we have some songs that we're happy with. And I think this time it was a hell of a lot of work, but I think it really worked out great, really worked out well. I'm really, really pleased with the results. And but it's one of those things, like a couple of 3 days ago, I wasn't sure how I really felt about how the songs were going to be, and really, recording really has to, it focuses you. So I spent a lot of time listening and learning the songs, studying the songs over the last 3 days. So now that I've spent that time with it, I'm super psyched about the album, and super psyched about the songs, and super psyched about what we just did in the last 2 days in the studio. So I'm excited.